Hello again, everybody. Tyrone Shoes here, and we're going to continue our discussion of metronomes. This is going to be a little bit more advanced than the previous one because we're going to learn how to slow things down, and that is the key to playing anything. You have to find a playable tempo because you always have to play in time. Always. Never not play in time. Well, what happens is when you take a song, especially if it's on the speedy side, when you slow it down, the spaces get really long where there's spaces. And the problem is actually memorizing the lick at the slow tempo. If we take a common lick, well, I'll tell you what, before I get to that, the other technique that goes hand in hand with this, with learning to slow things down, is to use 2 clicks per beat instead of 1 when you're playing with the metronome. Now, when you're jamming with the metronome, you actually sometimes just use the metronome on 2 and 4, and that's for making it sound more like music. But when you're actually learning a song, you're going to, if it's 4/4 or even 3/4 or whatever, you're going to use the metronome as the quarter note as your beat. But if something gets really, if you need to slow it down a lot, then you can actually double the amount of clicks, which will help guide you through the long spaces, and you'll see what I mean. If we take a typical song, right? All right, so that might appear fast to someone who is a beginner or early intermediate, and they want to learn it because it's one of their favorite riffs. Well, if you slow it down too much, it's not going to sound like the same song. I'm going to the glasses here. Now, okay, so this says 80. It's approximately right. Say, all right, I'll cut it in half. Now, for having been a teacher all these years, I may be able to pull this off. I'm getting just a hair ahead. And that's still kind of speedy. All right? So, what you do, first thing you do, is you have to conceptualize the lick slow. And even if you can't sing it, okay, we had it at 80, right? You don't even need your guitar or whatever instrument for this. Even if you can't carry the pitch, you can at least say the rhythm like this. This is the important part because your fingers will produce the notes if you're guitar, piano, whatever. 2, 3, 4. But da 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 da. That is the rhythm, right? And that's what we have to ingrain in our mind. And if we slow it down in, well, a standard metronome like this, which doesn't have all the gradations, old school I guess we call it, you can still get them though. 2 clicks is what I would do. If you have a digital metronome, just go 10%. So if this is 80, just subtract 8, the beats, and go from there. Okay, so I'll go 2 clicks, which actually in this just happens to be 8 in this part of the tempo. Here we go. So 3 and 4. But da 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 da. It doesn't sound too much different. Well, it will eventually. I'll go 2 more clicks. But the fact is if you approach this incrementally like this, eventually your mind will get wrapped around what the lick is really slow. Here's 2 more clicks. 3 and 4 and ba ba da 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 da. We want to get to the point where it's so slow that our fingers can play it, even if we're a beginner or, well, late beginner, intermediate, probably for this tune, really. Now, we're going to run into that when we start taking too many clicks off of here. The clicks are going to be too far apart. I think we're still okay here. This is 60. We should be fine. 2, 3, and 4. Ba ba da 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 da. Okay, so once it starts getting too far below 60, you're going to want to double the amount of clicks. Like here's what it would sound at the exact same tempo with just twice as many clicks. This is exactly what I just sung. And 2 and 3 and 4. Ba da 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 da. So you might find it a little bit annoying, but believe me, when it gets really slow, check this out. I'm going to go really slow. Notice the clicks aren't 1, 2, 3, 4 anymore. They are 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba ba da 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 da. Okay, so now that's 66. But those are eighth notes, not quarter notes, right? So really, this song may be written in alla breve, put the technicalities aside. It's 2 clicks a beat instead of 1. So the beat is really 33, which is even lower than this metronome goes. Most metronomes go to like 40, and some digital ones go to 30. But the point is, it might sound weird at first, but if you've slowed it down, I've sped the process up, but if you slowed it down and listen to those incremental tempos, 1, 2, 3, and play. Click, bang. So as you can see, these spaces are getting really long, but the addition of the extra click, we can even go slower. Let's try it. Throw caution to the wind. So again, I'll just say 3 and 4 and, so I don't have to do 8 clicks of count off. 3 and 4 and. Sharp on that bend. Shame on me. That's another thing we have to contend with. And 4. Too much time to think about it. So when your mind can wrap around the lick or passage at the slower tempo, your fingers can play it. And that's when the speed occurs. I know I get, but, what about? It's just like walking. None of us remember doing it ourselves. But if you're a parent or have a young niece or nephew or whatever, cousin, one day they can't walk, one day they take a step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, and then they can walk and wobble, and then they walk, and then nobody teaches them to run. All of a sudden, you got your kid with you in the department store, and he just makes a beeline running for the games or the Thomas trains. And nobody ever told him to run. He just could do it. And the reason he could do that was because when you repeat something long enough, when you repeat something perfectly long enough, you are able to do it faster. The thing is to get everything in order and in its place. That's how to learn a riff. I have to do that with Stevie Ray Vaughan's Scuttle Button, which, first of all, the way the bridge is, it's uncomfortable to play on a guitar like this. It's really made for a Strat or perhaps a Tele. But I have to rehearse it every time I'm going to play it live, because I don't play it live all the time. And it's a tricky enough riff that I have to do the exact same thing that I'm telling you all to do. It almost doesn't sound like the song if you're not ready for it. If you don't have it in your mind, that's what it is. And as I said, I couldn't, maybe in about an hour or maybe in a day or two, I'll get it back to where I could perform it. I mean, I have recordings of myself playing it. I know I did it, and I've had recordings of myself playing it faster than the tempo it is on the record. But that lick requires maintenance, and the reason I bring it up is to say that, I'm no different than any of you guys, and that's how I learn. That's how you should learn. That's how I'm going to practice that lick. I'd actually like to bring that song back into the set list, but not before I do some time in the woodshed. So I'm telling stories on myself so that you guys will feel a little empathy and won't get discouraged, because I do the exact same thing you're doing. So 10% at a time, or 2 clicks on a standard old school metronome. You listen to it, and when you listen to the song, listen to the source material. You don't have to get it bang on when like what I did with the Led Zeppelin riff, right? I think I had it here. 3, 4. That's close, right? If it's not exactly right with the record, so what? It's close enough. So if you get your mind around it at that tempo, then just take 2 clicks off. It's not that much different, right? But it will be. But keep going, and if you feel yourself losing it, then stay at that little spot and do it a few times till it sinks in, and eventually you'll be able to slow it down to a point where your hands can play it, and that's when you really learn something. That's when something will stay with you, and you will be able to perform it sooner than you might otherwise, and it won't be sloppy. It'll be right in the groove. Oh, the other important thing I want to sum up is the extra click. Now, if you use the extra click, 2 clicks a beat instead of 1, once let's say we were doing that at half speed, right, or way less. Right? Okay, so you keep doing it, you keep going, you're going to find that by the time you hit like 120, you probably, 120 is about the dividing line. You probably can take it down to 60 and be all right. 3 and 4. And you'll be able to feel the lick at that tempo with fewer clicks. Because if you keep going, it gets annoying. Watch. Turn that thing off. So after about 120, you want to cut it back in half and use 1 click per beat properly. So it's the 10% rule for slowing it down. 10% of the tempo at the time. Just keep going 10% at a time. Memorize the lick at the uber slow tempo, and then play it and gradually bring it up, and use 2 clicks a beat if you have to. And then once you hit, if you're using 2 clicks a beat, once you hit somewhere around 120, you can stretch a little further, but not much. Then just halve the tempo and just take half the clicks away. As a postscript, I would like to mention that The important thing about finding a playable tempo is just that, finding a playable tempo. When you can play the lick you're working on perfectly, practice it at that tempo. When it's as easy as it is to breathe, then you can move it up probably a pretty good chunk, and it's still just that easy. As long as it's that easy, stay there. Stay at the fastest tempo you can play that you can actually play it at. So find the tempo where you're messing up just a little bit, maybe a third of the time, and back it down so that you're getting it maybe 9 out of 10 times or even 10 out of 10 times. Just keep repeating the good habits. And when that becomes like breathing, then you move it up again. But you shouldn't be struggling when you're learning something to play fast. You should play it, practice easy. Practice easy, and you won't even realize you're working. And all of a sudden, you'll be up to tempo before you realize it. You won't be struggling and sputtering, and it'll sound great. It'll be accurate and true. See you in the next video.